Hello and welcome. I'm Srinivasan and this is Talking Sense with Srini. In this edition, we're keeping the spotlight on the charming beach town of Puducherry, which was once a French colony, now slowly and steadily getting saffronized. To decode what's driving this change and what it means for the Union Territory, we're joined by our editor-in-chief, S. Srinivasan, and alongside is also our assistant editor, Pramila Krishnan. Let me begin with Pramila. You crisscrossed Puducherry there, for the election season. How was it? How was the experience?
Yeah, it was good. I met people from various political parties. I really wondered, people, they are quite engaged with politicians. Unlike in other states, people know the names, people know what the politician has done, and they keep everything in their memory because it's a small town and everybody knows the politicians and by name, by family, and what they have done. So it was a good journey.
Okay, so I think, let me bring in Srinivasan sir here. Let's talk about the crux of the issue as far as Puducherry is concerned. Every single party is talking about this, which is statehood. And statehood has been an issue for close to, I think, 3-4 decades there. So, despite the Union Territory being ruled by the Congress and the BJP in alliance with the NR Congress recently, there is little has been done to offer statehood for the Union Territory of Puducherry. So, what is making it difficult? Why is it continues to remain out of reach for Puducherrians?
Actually, it's very interesting to know about Puducherry, the politics of Puducherry and the whole, the culture, everything is pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. Though it's, just a neighboring, it's not a state, it's a union territory, also a state, but has a very unique characteristics. I think let's briefly talk about it as well before I answer your question.
Yeah.
Because I find it extremely fascinating. It has got a little history. It's why it's different from others, because while rest of India were all, as we all know, were colonized by Britishers, this particular portion of India was actually colonized by over 300 years by the French. Mm-hmm. So when French left, there is a deep cultural impression which have left on the population of that small place. I was just Googling quickly, it's only 492 square kilometers, geography of Puducherry. And then it's not as if Puducherry is one composite town. Actual Puducherry is only 293. As a state, it is divided into 4 regions specifically. One is Puducherry, the other is Karaikal. They both are closer to Tamil Nadu and largely Tamil-speaking population there. Yeah. And then you have Mahe, which is actually much closer to Kerala.
That's right, yeah.
And then you have Yanam. This is actually pretty far. It's in Andhra Pradesh, very
so
close.
So 800 kilometers from Pondi.
Yeah, it's pretty far. So for regional distribution, so the culture is very unique. So even the Dravidian identity, which is largely linked to Tamil language, doesn't apply there because there are 4 languages. It's not
Sir,
just one.
I observed people, they feel they are more connected to the identity as a Pondicherrian than as a Tamilian.
Absolutely. So it has got its own cosmopolitan character, which is very different from Tamil Nadu has. It didn't have that impact of Dravidian politics. So though it's so close, half an hour drive and you can land in Puducherry. But if you're living in ECR, you can just walk across.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then these are the very different characteristic of this little place. And that's why I find it very fascinating. And, it's pretty different. And therefore, the politics is very different. And the other fact here is when the French left and in 1962-63, when the integration actually happened with India, Indians living here were allowed French citizenship. So many people opted to become French. Yeah. They took the citizenship. And therefore, many of them those days, I think you just fact-checked, even had dual citizenship, which means they could vote in France.
They could vote in Indian
elections.
But whenever the elections take place in France, you will see a lot of frenzy happening in Puducherry, as if they are going for an election, because they still do postal ballots or something for French president's election. So they are very proud. They therefore, right, as you correctly said, call themselves as Puducherrians, very distinct from what it is. So it's a very unique state and a very unique characteristic. There is more we can talk about it. It's a land where Sri Aurobindo was there, and you had Mother who came and instituted the ashram there. I'm from Tamil Nadu, but I lived largely in Delhi. So I didn't know much about it. So once when I was traveling in a prime minister entourage, those days it was allowed. It was Vajpayee who was going to United Nations, and there was a stopover in France. And the French embassy people were helping us in various ways. Whenever, prime ministerial delegation goes, journalists, when I accompany them, they also get all the benefits of hospitality. So I was damn surprised that whole lot of French embassy officials speaking Tamil.
Okay.
And then that's the time when I realized,
Interesting.
they're actually, it's very interesting because probably they have been given citizenship and they chose to work in France. So even that happens. Citizens can go and live there as well. And then coming now to your question about why it has not been given a statehood. Again, there is a background to this, why it has not got. I think like you said yesterday and we were discussing, it's a very small region and it can't sustain itself financially. So it has very low revenue potential. Apparently its expenditure is 4 times the revenue generation and it is not able to generate revenue. And the taxes are deliberately kept low because if you give statehood, the taxes would go up. The same GST laws will apply. But right now, Puducherry has an advantage over a neighboring Tamil Nadu because of the lower taxes. So people buy a car, perhaps in Puducherry, get registration and then drive in Chennai.
That's right, yeah.
And like you earlier mentioned, booze, probably people cross over because it's much cheaper there.
That's right, absolutely.
So these are the kind of things, and the cities, that region doesn't want to lose that advantage. So even if full statehood was given, many people may not like it because it takes away the advantages of that. And
So
then
actually-
they're surviving on grants actually. Yeah.
I interviewed an independent MLA. He started his own party this time. He contested last time. He has started a new party called Neyam Makkal Katchi and he has aligned with TVK from the Vijay's political party. And when I asked him about the motto of his political party, he said to achieve statehood.
Right. Well, that's very interesting.
Because many politicians, they know that it's a long dream. They will never. It can't be achieved. So
it's one of those things which politicians always use during electoral campaigns, knowing very well that that's not an ultimate objective and they're never going to get it. So she's right. Puducherry politicians always say that we need statehood. Like you said yesterday, NR Congress leader,
Rangaswamy.
also says that, look, we want statehood.
That's
and
right.
the center hasn't
He
given.
even cried on the stage. He said, I lack power. I don't have any decision-making authority. It is essential. We need statehood.
Yeah.
So people, last election also he did the same drama and this time also same thing. People, some even thought this time he would not align with BJP.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. So that's the reason statehood is constantly eluded. But there are other things, under Article 239A, the special, state when it was formed along with Delhi and others. Puducherry was also formed along with that. But there is a provision there where the local powers of Puducherry, though there is an assembly and there is a chief minister elected, it can be legislated and changed by the center. So it's got a very unique character. So Puducherry, in fact, is actually governed largely by the center. And even the official cadres who work, the IAS and others, are all from the central central services. So that's why it's got a different character. There is a assembly. It's a 30-member assembly. Again, there is a unique thing. 3 members are nominated by the
MLAs.
center. So center has a lot of powers there. If center finds out that, okay, a particular political formation is going against their coalition, they can always put 3 nominated people and then change which happened actually. In the past, they can change the equation. So therefore, statehood is a question. Politicians will keep raising it. People will keep talking about it. Perhaps it won't happen.
In the 2021 elections, if you look at the tally, BJP won 6 of the 9 seats it contested and is now part of the ruling NDA government there, along with AI NRC. So for a party which virtually no relevance in Tamil politics, Tamil polity, and that's a remarkable leap if you really think. And how did the BJP engineer this?
Vijay, actually, BJP formed its base in Puducherry in 1980. Since 1980, the party has contested in so many elections, but it never won in any seats. I just verified it in 1985. They contested in the first election in all the 30 constituencies, but they could not win in any seat, and they secured just 0.1% of the vote share. But look at in 2021, they secured 13.66% of the total vote share. All these improvements have happened only after BJP came into power at the center. After 2014, BJP was able to set its footprint in Puducherry because they, since as Srini sir mentioned, they have the direct control over the day-to-day governance of Puducherry. So they are very assertive, and despite ANNRC in power, it's the center, by the BJP. They take all the decisions. So they grew in a big way in the last 5-10 years.
It's very interesting, it's the Puducherry is the liberal city state in a way, and lots of French people there, French culture, even Puducherrians, I'm sure they must be highly influenced by this French culture and all that. But Bharatiya Janata Party gaining ground in Puducherry is a huge story, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like she correctly said, they in 2016 elections, the vote share was hardly anything, and they had 0 seats. But in 2021, they managed to get 13.66% vote share and 6 seats. Now that was remarkable growth, and right now it's no longer tail wagging the head. Is actually BJP is ahead now. So if you flip, it's not anything new there. People understand. Similarly, in the past, it was Congress which dominated politics there. Though Puducherry is the backyard of Tamil Nadu, the Dravidian politics never took so much root there as it should have been. It's very unique. So of course, if you look at vote share, DMK vote share in 2021 was 18.51%, and they got 6 seats. And Congress was only 12.8, and they got 6 seats. But if you look at the previous election, 2016, Congress has a huge vote share. And I think it was 30.6%, and they had 15 seats. So the thing here is, as the Congress declined, BJP replaced. And the two Dravidian parties, both DMK and AIDMK, existed. They do exist. But
at the mercy of the national parties.
Yeah.
But why do you think that they are not able to make an impact here in Puducherry?
Like I said earlier,
The Dravidian
ideology is based on 2 distinct characteristics. One is the Tamil as an identity. Language is a very important factor. And there you have a cosmopolitan characteristic.
That's right, yeah.
Where French, Tamil, Telugu, even Malayalam, all have to be given importance because the state comprises of all of this. So that's one. And then if you recall, there was an anti-Hindi agitation which happened in Tamil Nadu, and it was one of the the base for which the
launchpad for the DMK.
Launchpad on which DMK, the Dravidian movement was built. But there's no such thing there. So like other things like we discussed earlier, it's got a very different culture and very different characteristics. So therefore, Dravidian politics could never take any deep root there. But there are other things as well. The elections have been also, if you want to put it very softly, people be very pragmatic there. So they could see which is the party in power at the center, and they would easily side with that because the grants come from center. The entire administration, governance, everything happens from there. So they had not much of a resistance to offer. If there is a dispute between the CM and the Lieutenant Governor, then the issue would go to center. Basically, it will go to the president, which means center.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it would be the center which would decide. But it doesn't mean. The other thing is that why Puducherry has stood on its own ground, because they also don't like domination or a big brother attitude of a neighboring state. So they don't like it. They don't want to be seen as a younger sibling of Tamil Nadu. But on the other hand, it's look at the people's the uniqueness there. Even when the French offered citizenship, they chose to align with India. They wanted to integrate. There was a protest there, and the French had to heed, and finally they had to transfer power, and it was integrated in India without any referendum. So the people there have been pretty unique in that sense, and they knew their rights and their own unique identity they wanted to safeguard.
Bharatiya Janata Party seems to be the dominant player in Puducherry, as you said. Puducherry Chief Minister is still Mr. Rangaswamy. He insisted on statehood, as we discussed, and before finalizing the NDA alliance as well, and even opposed the inclusion of Santiago Martin, the lottery king, king's son, Jose Charles Martin, who's also contesting in this election. But eventually, everything fell in line. Rangaswamy had nothing much to do, but it's a BJP which is actually, in a way, as you said, dictating terms to him, and he has to say yes to it. Does this suggest that Rangaswamy is a willing partner in the BJP Hindutva project? Because we're talking, the theme of today's discussion is going to be the saffronization, the slow, steady saffronization that's going on. You think Rangaswamy, he also, he has his own set of fan following there, he's a simple man. So you think he's very much a part of the BJP's Hindutva project, or you think that he's used as more of a prop by a much larger force like the BJP?
Well, it's an interesting question, and since you visited and you met politicians there, whether saffronization is happening at what level, I think you should be able to tell us. But then before she answers, there's another interesting thing there. Rangaswamy is a very unique personality, and people love him because, like she said, everybody knows everyone there, because everybody recognized personally, perhaps they know the name. And this gentleman roams around in a scooter. Every morning he plays badminton. And, he's...
People can easily spot ministers, even chief ministers on road.
On road. So they know each other. And yesterday, we had a con call with a politician from Puducherry, and he was saying, the people there, the character of Puducherry is such, they only want one thing. The politicians should recognize and talk to them. They don't expect anything more. So that's all they need. So that's how people react there. But then I think you should be able to tell us more about the saffron project.
So actually people, they identify the candidates who are contesting. They don't look at the party or symbol. Those things do not matter. They want the candidates to work for their constituency, how much they have improved the facilities, infrastructure, all those things. But one thing which I could gather on ground, the grassroots structure of BJP has increased so much. Hindutva ideology has not seeped in as such, but people understand that there's a need for them to align with BJP. So the cadre base has increased, and BJP has also tried its efforts. For example, RSS is conducting marches on for the last 3 years. They are having marches on the Republic Day, and they are having meetings, and the number of people who attend those meetings has also increased over the years. And these are the things which I saw on ground. I'm still not able to get convinced that they really like the Hindutva ideology. They subscribe to those values.
I think there's also a bit of an appropriation that's happening as far as the Aurobindo.
No, so see, the thing here is, like she was saying, that people call it as a laboratory of...
BJP's laboratory.
But, it was also, in a way, it's not just BJP's laboratory. It's also any national party wants to try out central government, its policies. They actually try out in Puducherry. So even when the Congress was in power, they tried out perhaps the Aadhaar.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
First in Puducherry. And similarly now, new education policy, whatever changes they want to bring in, I think the central government is trying first in Puducherry. So in that sense, it's a constant experimental stage, starting from the Sri Aurobindo, So those experiments have been going on. But interestingly, what she said is, which is actually on January 26.
You mean the RSS marches?
Yeah, on Republic Day, they actually RSS marches through the streets. And then there are other RSS activities which have been also happening. But that has not seeped in or outwardly become any major change in the state. It's a very unique, identity there, and people want to preserve their identity. And this whole saffronization is a term which we can use, but in reality, people are very pragmatic. They really understand the politics of it, and they want to naturally align with BJP because they know that supporting the center would give them required financial muscle. Well, the next question is, which you could probably would logically ask, has it actually resulted in improvement of Puducherry? So the answer is, of course, different.
So NDA has finalized its seat sharing a little early, and I think there's a bit of a cohesion there as far as NDA is concerned. AINRC, and the Joe Charles Martin's party, and the Bharatiya Janata Party as well. While on the other side, the Congress and DMK, there's lots of bickerings, infightings,
Yes.
out in the open, grabbing all headlines in the media and all that. They've locked in a bitter battle till the last day of nomination, right? So some of them even filed for nomination, they got it back and all that. So on the ground, whom do you think has got the edge this time?
Surely ANRC and BJP, the NDA alliance, has the edge. Actually, one thing came out in open, that the big brother attitude shown by DMK towards Congress in Tamil Nadu, that had reflected in the coalition talks in Puducherry. Because the Congress and the DMK leaders, they really did not want that to settle in. Actually, the DMK High Command asked all its candidates to file nomination even before the seat sharing talks had begun. So that shows how thick,
The readiness of them.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of talking sense with Srini's on Tamil Nadu politics and all that. We've been able to, in fact, call it as a 4-cornered fight, 3-cornered fight and all that. Puducherry still remains to be a 2-cornered fight, or is there a difference of opinion there? You think it's because Vijay is also coming in. Joe Charles Martin, who was about to contest as solo, but he again joined the NDA at the 11th hour. So
He contests in 2 seats.
that's right. So
LJK.
but he's still now part of the NDA
Yes.
coalition there. So you think it could be a triangular fight? TVK has also got an alliance with this party called Ney
Makkal
Makkal
Katchi.
Kazham. So what do you think is the prospects there for TVK?
I really don't know how it is going to translate into votes. Vijay is as popular in Puducherry as he is in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
Being a very well-known actor, obviously he will draw good crowds there as well. But again, the question is whether these can be translated into votes. Like we said earlier, that people look forward who can give them welfare, because their entire objective is linked to their own welfareism and preserving their own identity. If can Vijay guarantee that? As of now, like she correctly said, and I too feel that BJP, the NDA coalition of BJP and NRC has got a lead there, and whether TVK's entry can any way change it, I'm not so sure. But yeah, whether the fight itself can become a 3-way is a big question. In any case, it's a very, very small state, only with 30 seats. And how many seats they're going to cover, and in what way is a question. So I think we have to still wait and see whether it can become a triangular or only remain a bipolar contest. What about you?
I think ANRC and BJP, they take the lead. So I think they will make a mark
she calls it
again,
unipolar.
because
It's unipolar. It's not even bipolar. Okay.
because the way people think, they believe it's good to go with the wave at the center, so that their interest would be protected. They would get because when we look at the infrastructure, it's very poor, sir. The roads are so narrow, and the battered roads, the drinking water is not good, and there is a big tourist influx after Corona. So they want their day-to-day life to be at peace. So Pondicherrians' livelihood is based on that.
So I think it's a very important question. The Puducherry is a very famous tourist spot.
Yeah.
And for Chennaiites and for Tamilians in general, it's actually a weekend detour. So people land up in Puducherry. And therefore it is hugely crowded. Like we discussed earlier, it's a small area, and they get about 2 million plus tourists. And there is no place. Roads are chock-a-block, traffic jams, you must have noticed. And 90%, I quickly Googled, I realized that it says that 90% of roads there are less than 20 meters in width. So the roads are small. And it has one of the worst, perhaps, the municipal management.
And administration.
So we also had news stories some time ago where there were unfortunate deaths because of mixing of
Sewage and drinking water.
with drinking water. So there are about 30-40% still open drainage in that city. For all its talk of
glamorous
this
thing,
thing,
there's also
it
the other
certainly
side of it.
lacks in modernity. There was also, I think, Smart City project was also started there. But those initiatives haven't really transformed what Puducherry should have been. So there are a lot of basic problems there. Uninterrupted power. There is a lot of power disruptions which happens. They can't have a big airport because it's a small area. So the biggest aircraft which can land is perhaps 72 seaters. So one has to come to Chennai to take international flights. Or so even foreign tourists have to come here to Chennai before they go to Puducherry. So I think the tourism there has not been developed to the extent, though it has had huge potential. And even Auroville, it's got such an international pull. It hasn't happened the way it should happen. So that's unfortunately the other side of the story there, that it lacks, the city really lacks municipal things. There are dark areas, even street lights are not there. Proper hygiene is not maintained. So there are a lot of problems there as well.
Thank you very much, both of you. And, we request all our viewers watching this podcast to go out and vote on April 9th. So, and we look forward to the results as well. And, stay tuned to the Federal for the results on May 4th.
Actually, Vijay, we should be having our show, Talking Sense, on 4th May on the rocky beach of Puducherry.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be interesting. Sure, we should look forward to that.
Sure. And the wonderful cafes as well. I think we should visit there. So I think, certainly, sir. We'll put out a plan. We'll take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Vijay.
Yeah.